hiding out in our rooms, reading books that were maybe a little inappropriate.
Hello and welcome to Who Let Me Read This, the podcast where a group of us folks get together and discuss the young adult books of our youth that were often inappropriate, mostly badly written, and today's featured book hits on both of those. Yes. This podcast also covers how these books colored the views of our world and how much we're going to end up spending on therapy in our adult years. Awesome.
More than college.
Yeah. So much more. Yikes. You know, if you never repay it, it didn't cost you anything. Just kidding. Awesome. With us today are myself, Laura Holterman, one of our producers, Sarah Wallisch, one of our featured regulars, Andrea Roedel-Schroeder, and then our special guest who chose our book today, comedic and Shakespearean actress, Kelsey Lexow. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us today. So Kelsey actually is a big fan of this group of books.
Well,
I don't know if she wants to admit that. But.
Not fan. I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
Reading them as an adult.
Perfect. So Kelsey, why don't you introduce us to the book that we're going to be featuring today?
Okie dokie. Well, the book that I picked was R.L. Stine's Fear Street. It's got a nice little pumpkin head man. Yay!
Ooh, yeah. Excellent. So this delightful little treat was part of a large collection of books. Approximately how many Fear Street books do you think are out there?
There are at least 100, and the research that I've done suggests that there are 100. Goosebumps is really what R.L. Stine's known for. He did over 200 of those, but R.L. Stine did his Fear Street for his more older kids.
Sure.
Kind of.
Someone paid him to write so many of these books.
Oh,
wow,
yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I am particularly excited to dive into this treat for our special spooky edition of Who Let Me Read This October.
Scary noises.
So today, we're going to be covering the first portion of the book where we really get to meet the main characters, Terry and Nikki, the couple, of course, that's featured in every book, as they're invited to an odd Halloween party by the mysterious new girl, Justine. The group of kids who are invited to the party are really divided, of course, between the jocks and the wimps. The jocks, which includes Alex, who used to date Nikki. They decide to have a contest where the two groups prank each other to see who is less of a wimp since they're attending a party on Fear Street. And then they all show up to the party in some really bizarre costumes. Let's discuss. The party is an amazing affair and things are going wonderfully when the lights go out and the surprises begin. Ooh. So before we dive into this treat, I just wanted to take a second to thank our amazing sponsors for letting us use this space, sexyhackers.com. Awesome.
Gorgeous.
And providing us with this super cool merch. Check out these cool t-shirts. We love those.
I'm a mummy.
T-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, bomber jackets.
All the things.
All of the things.
Yeah. So as we open on the book, we meet with Terry and Nikki traipsing through a graveyard.
Yep.
As you do.
As you do. On their way to a party, just walking through a graveyard.
I mean, I was that high schooler, but...
Well, yeah, so was I, but I wasn't on my way to a party. I was just hanging out in the graveyard because it was quiet.
Writing in my journal
Yep.
about how much everyone hated me.
Yep.
Oh, of
taking
course.
taking pictures next to the old tombstones and captioning them with "No one understands me, Mom."
And we get to meet the 9 very specific teenagers who are invited to this party.
Which, let's be real, 5 of them matter.
Right, yeah.
There's 9, but not all of them matter.
I mean, they're all pretty much interchangeable. They're all like archetype 90s.
Oh, 100%.
Characters.
Yes.
Have a thing about them.
Yes.
Yep. All white 90s stereotype kids.
Yeah, true that. And now they've all been invited to this party at the Cameron Mansion. That's Justine Cameron is the host.
Right.
And Justine's pretty intense about her invitation, that it can only be these 9 folks.
Oh, yeah. She says several times, people ask her, well, can I bring a date? And there's one guy, I think it's David. He has a girlfriend of like 2 years. And he's like, hey, I can bring her, right? And she's like, no dates. No dates at all.
Like,
And for some reason,
random smattering of people
exactly.
are the only ones allowed.
And for some reason, he's still like, all right, I'll just go without her.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
that's because you went anywhere without your other half in high school.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
girlfriend of 2 years and a couple more days.
Right.
Yes. So specific.
Yeah. And so we're in the high school. We're being introduced to Justine, who is described as she was so beautiful, even the other girls thought so.
Right.
Yeah, because let's really hammer that home. That
It's not okay to be nice to other girls.
No.
never.
No.
You can't think that they're pretty or appreciate anything about them.
No.
Great. And we find this out through Lisa, who was a real gossip.
Oh, yes.
You know, even though she pretended
Her one
to just be a
characteristic.
reporter.
Yeah, that's
hers.
it.
That's
That's
her
her
one.
characteristic.
Yeah.
She's
Everybody gets one.
she's a brunette gossip.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sorry. They
Everybody
get
gets a hair color
Yep.
and one character trait.
Was there a redhead in this?
Surprisingly
like
not,
redhead?
which
I
is
just
weird
assumed.
because R.L. Stein has a huge, can I say hard on? He has a huge hard on for redheads. Like so many of his characters in his other books are redheads with green eyes or curly auburn haired with flashing green eyes. And
I mean,
It's
Justine
interesting
does
to
have
see
the
now.
green eyes.
yeah, Justine
She's
has
got
the green eyes,
but she's got blonde hair.
Well, that's also another
I pictured
thing
her in my
for
house having
him.
dark hair. I just like ignored all of his descriptions and was like, that's not how I see him.
Well, no, I mean it would be more real that way. I mean, so good on you.
But yeah, Justine is described as beautiful, blonde, and thin, mysterious, and recently transferred when she and her uncle moved into the old mansion. She's known for traveling the world, being strong, standoffish, and stacked.
Yes.
Because she lifts
She lifts
weights.
weights.
But I love that description when like, okay, so Nikki describes her.
Yeah.
And it's super queer and I love it.
Oh, I know. But then she has to like qualify it
Like,
with,
she
oh,
has
you
such a great
boys.
body.
I know, but then she has to qualify it with like, you boys are all alike.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's okay. You can say that a girl is stacked. That's totally fine.
Right. But also, what high school girl was stacked and
Right.
thin and knew that lifting weights was good for you at
Right.
that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief, and it starts early.
Yep.
Just jump on in. That's good. So we're meeting the group of kids that are all invited to the party, and they're divvied up pretty equally between the groups of jocks and wimps, including Terry, who's one of our main characters,
Yeah.
and his old pal Alex, who used to date Nikki, who's now dating Terry. And they're
They
one.
used to be best friends.
They did.
But if they were a jock and a wimp, how did they used to be friends?
Well, that's
90s.
yeah.
Never happens.
No. I mean, you have the Saved by the Bell effect.
Right.
Like,
Sure, Preppy.
Yeah.
So they start off with a harmless prank war.
Which, no.
Harmless.
Right.
Pranks are the worst.
Yeah.
Universally, pranks are the worst. There's no harmless
not
prank.
okay.
There's just pranks that cause physical harm
Exactly.
versus just like mental anguish.
Yes. Mental anguish and emotional harm. It's not, there's no such thing as a harmless prank.
Yeah, no.
Like,
I also have a lot of questions about like the scoring system of this game. Like,
right.
how do they plan to determine is it tennis? Is it like Love 15? Like, how does this work?
Yeah.
When
like,
does
are
it end?
all pranks weighted the same?
Maybe it's like
That's an
fantasy
excellent
football where there's like
question.
incremental points.
I think because it's the 90s, I bet if you make a boy cry, you win.
Yeah, probably.
Like especially if it's a jock,
Yeah.
I bet that wins the game.
But Kelsey, the inimitable Robert Smith says that boys don't cry. So
but this is the 90s.
Why you win.
That's why you win.
if you break the rule,
You in the 90s, if you're a dude, you solve your problems through violence. Like,
and that is
Seriously?
1000% everybody's
yeah.
game.
oh
in this
yeah,
book.
absolutely, yeah,
so much threatening, so much
So
casual
much threatening.
threatening.
Except for less.
right.
Yeah, well,
How does that go for Les?
I like Les.
Les.
I'm all the way team
Les is
Les.
the nerdy one.
Right.
That's like his identifier. I
He's
don't know
got
if we get a hair color for
horn-rimmed.
him.
He gets horn-rimmed glasses.
Oh,
Yes.
that's why I liked him.
Yeah. I love a good horn-rimmed glass.
And he was quiet and polite.
That was it.
He's
And
That's-
the only
that's
one
it.
who's not awful. Cool.
Right.
All right.
so the pranks are starting off what they call harmless until Terry, our hero,
I
mean,
ostensibly, yes.
finds a plucked chicken head in his locker.
Right. Like,
We went Escalade.
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand why it's plucked.
Right?
Like, wouldn't it be just as intimidating to just find a severed chicken head in your locker as a plucked chicken head?
It's really specific. Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of casual access to like easily dead animals.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just
Yeah.
like hanging around with animals and
And like,
amphibians.
yeah, and studio effects makeup. Like a lot of casual access to like Hollywood level special effects.
I have questions.
Considering none of them are described as being a theater kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. You would, yeah.
You'd think.
Right.
So
I feel like Ricky is probably actually a theater kid.
Probably, yeah. Although
yeah.
he's just kind of like he's featured in a couple of other Fear Street books, and in those other books, basically he's just a loudmouth dick. And that's literally all he does. He just makes dickish comments and is just a jerk, especially to girls that he likes.
right.
Okay. So he's not a theater kid.
guy.
He just does a lot of improv.
Yes. Ooh, firefight. Shots fired.
And we also learn that no one in the theater community supports each other.
So it's back to 90s high school.
Oh, wait. So
But Ricky, like we meet Ricky because he has gotten an invitation, but also he's carrying around a what is it?
A
He's
jar
carrying
of
around
dead tadpoles.
a frog. He has a frog just in a bag.
Yep.
Yep. For his
And a
science
jar
project.
of tadpoles.
Listen,
He has a frog
Yes.
in a bag.
Ricky has very specific, like, intense interests that I feel like there's maybe something going on there.
There's definitely something going on there, but that was his biology project. So,
Yeah.
but frog in a bag.
Frog in a bag.
Why in a bag?
Find a bag.
I was in high school and I knew better.
Right.
Yeah, Ricky doesn't understand fundamental concepts. Like,
Animals need air.
Air.
So they're going through this prank war, and things escalate a little bit when Nikki, so our lady hero,
Yes.
our Shiro, yep, she is hearing impaired but reads lips. She gets a note in her locker that says, "You'll wish you were blind too."
Yeah.
Just rude.
Well, I mean, all's fair in love and prank war, as Alex says.
Yeah.
which is patently untrue.
The
Right.
90s did love like casual ableism.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Huge.
The 90s.
And did we ever find out if that was part of the prank war or if that was like
No.
part of a bigger evil plan?
No, we never found out if that was,
No
it
one
was
ever
just,
took- yeah, there
no
was no
one- yeah.
responsibility for that.
yeah, which is really weird because you'd think like in the 90s people would be like, I did it, isn't it hilarious?
So funny how I threatened to take away another of your senses.
Thanks. So we get to meet all of these characters. We get to see this crazy escalating prank war, which Nikki is not a fan of. Putting her foot down repeatedly.
Go girl.
Nikki.
Given the look to Funny Face, what's with the nickname?
Yeah, just like a real. See, here's the thing. It comes back to Terry's weird coding because, like, are you just really into Audrey Hepburn, Terry?
Right.
Like, what's going on?
Is this like casual negging? Ooh. Because
Well, I mean, he does say to her, if you can stop eating for a few minutes, let's dance when they get to the party. So, no.
We're gonna visit that in just a second.
Oh, sorry.
to say about casual negging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, before we dive into the party, we're going to take just a quick break and a little word from our sponsors before we dive into this delightful party. We'll be back in just a sec.
SexyHackers.com.
And we're back to this special Halloween party edition of Who Let Me Read This. So
My mommy.
So let's dive into this party. So this is Justine is hosting a special party at her mansion on Fear Street.
Right? Like you do.
Do they ever address how buck wild, like, Fear Street existing in this universe is as a concept of just everybody accepts there's this street where everything's haunted and, like, terrible things happen regularly, and that's just a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's tradition.
All right. Mm-hmm. Why not?
This is the only Fear Street book I've ever read, so I was very like,
Oh, yeah.
it's
There's,
like an established thing.
It's like the plot
Yeah.
connector of everything. Of there's Fear Street in
Yeah.
this town that everything else is normal, and then there's Fear Street.
right, yeah. In the R.L. Stine mythos, there's like 10 books on the origin of Fear Street, and and they are a trip and a half as well.
What?
Yes.
Yes. So they all arrive to this costume party, Halloween costume party, wearing some of the most questionable choices.
Yeah.
Like, not crazy inappropriate. No. But you just kind of go, huh? That was...
What was the nexus of this decision that you've made? Like,
Yeah.
So Terry is dressed like a greaser.
Right.
Besides that, with the cigarettes folded up in his
Which
t-shirt.
yeah, there's a sentence devoted to.
yes.
And I feel like that's a very high school. That's a very like. High
Oh yeah.
school
yeah.
They just did.
Costume,
They
you
just
know?
did
Yeah.
Outsiders in English
Yes.
lit. Like,
Yeah.
We should read that one.
But then his girlfriend is dressed like a carnival character.
The funny part about that is, like, she makes her own costume. Like, they talk about that. But then the funny part about it is, like, Justine says to her when she gets in the party, "Oh, you look like you're from someone from Carnival." And Nikki's like, "What? What's Carnival?" Like,
yeah. Did you just make a
did
dress?
you just decide to be like a ballerina, princess, ball gown, red, whatever?
I have to appreciate the cape though. I
mean,
love a good
yeah,
cape.
yeah.
Love
Oh,
a good
yeah.
cape.
Love a cape. Gotta love a cape.
And then there's some zombies and, of course, cheerleaders. And the one tramp of the party is the biker chick.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what makes
Like
her
you
a
do.
tramp, is that she's dressed like a biker chick. Because
I
she's...
thought that was her one line, was that she is kind of loose.
No, she's on the jocks. Like, she's a jock.
There
she's
was,
on the
there
up
was
and
somebody
up.
that said somebody was fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes.
fast.
Yes, fast.
Fast.
Ooh.
What an entendre.
And
Entendre.
right. And then Alex comes in dressed as just the Silver Prince.
Yeah, because that's a thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
It was capitalized. Like,
Yep, the Silver
The
Prince.
Silver Prince.
Yeah.
Like that's.
And Justine introduces him as the Silver Prince. So apparently that's a thing that exists in that universe.
it was.
Was I making it up that his costume was basically like a silver unitard?
Nope.
Yes,
That's,
what it is,
yeah.
That was how it was described.
Yep.
I've
With
been
his
thinking about,
muscles
was I
rippling.
just
Yeah.
making that up.
No. Nope. Silver mask, silver unitard.
Cape?
I have pictured a cape.
Ooh, a
cape.
silver
I
cape.
think maybe he did have a cape because
Please.
yeah, no, I think he did because when later things happen, I believe a cape is involved.
Yeah.
David, dressed as a basketball player, the like
Right.
quintessential high school boy Halloween costume.
Yes.
Let me just wear my gym clothes
Yep.
and say I'm a
I'm
basketball
a basketball player.
You know it was
I
still
love it.
funky too.
Let me just wear my Charlotte Hornets jersey
Yeah.
and say I'm a basketball player.
Right.
Put some effort into carrying around a skull to make
That is-
it
yeah, that's true.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of a basketball.
Which seems like just a flawed concept because it wouldn't bounce.
right, and you know if someone's
Also, like, put a
yeah.
handle on it. You're carrying it.
Exactly. Yeah, you know people are going to be like, "Hey, does that work?" Boosh. 6 hours gone. Great.
Also, how does he carry it while he's dancing?
Right.
I'm picturing him like balancing it on his head.
I'm picturing him using it like a glow stick and a raver, just like
Oh my gosh, yes.
Glowing eyeballs?
The mental
Yes.
picture is fantastic.
Can we create this? Amazing.
We need to talk about my favorite costume.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which is that Ricky, who was earlier carrying around frog in a bag and a jar of dead tadpoles, shows up as a frog.
Yup.
Homeboy makes a frog costume, complete with like a headpiece with big eyes,
Yep.
which is the most fantastic thing I've ever heard in my life.
That was part of his biology project.
He's super proud of it. He's like, yeah, I dyed these in my mom's washer.
Yes. Yes.
And didn't clean the washer afterwards.
Exactly. Like,
Typical.
Yeah.
Good job.
We're all like adults.
Right.
Clean out the washer after.
Right. And then all the kids are introduced to Justine's uncle, Uncle Philip, who comes in dressed as a sad clown.
they should have just run at that point.
Single sparkly
tears.
Yes.
Run.
I love that the tear is sparkly. The attention to detail is astounding.
Yeah.
Philip is a prince, okay?
Yeah. I enjoy Philip. He's got some problems. Yeah. But
Philip's got some stuff to deal with.
So
Yeah.
was it just me, or when I see the one single tear, I immediately think of the show Gangland, where you have a tear tattooed for when you've killed someone.
Has Philip
So what would a sparkly
Philip has killed before, and he will kill again.
what would a sparkly teardrop?
You killed somebody in a really elaborate, fabulous way.
Yes.
Ooh, I hope so.
So we come in, we meet the 8 of the 9 characters, and we finally see the 9th character. There's a person dressed as a skeleton on the floor with a knife in his chest.
But before this, they're having like a good old time at the party. There's apparently a lot of food.
Fast
Which
dancing.
sounds great.
Yeah. She did like a cultural like smorgasbord.
Yeah.
All different like cultures represented.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever else there's to say about her, girl knows how to throw a party.
Right,
Yeah, that party sounded amazing.
It did. Yeah. It
Like-
sounded super amazing.
But the lights go out. All the power cuts out. And then it comes back on, and there's a guy dressed as a skeleton with a knife in his chest.
Right.
Like,
And every,
ah!
Yeah, real mood killer.
Yep.
yeah.
But it's okay because it just turns out to be less, and it's a less. Oh,
Team less.
right.
Totally team Les.
Then
He
just
ranks everybody.
Yes.
Yeah,
does
Les
not
does
care.
get like a solid
like-
dunk on every person.
Jocks, wimps, whatever. Dumb.
And then Justine announces that don't worry, there's gonna be more surprises.
Hard pass.
Oh, no thank you. That's not a
Surprises are the
surprise.
worst.
A dead body is not a surprise.
This
I
went from being
mean,
an awesome party with
it
great
is.
food to
Well-
being very stressful. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be sweaty and just not having a great time.
I'd just be like, this is too classy for me. I can't do this. I need to call my mom.
do you maybe have a cat?
Is there an animal I can talk to in a closet? It's fine. I need a closet.
I mean, we see many closets and cabinets and alcoves and
Preferably not a haunted one, though. I mean, it's Fear Street, so
you could
everything's-
hang out in the double closet in Justine's room.
Yes.
Closet within a closet.
Foreshadowing.
So in this first section of the book, there's some great moments. There's some delightful moments, but I would love to discuss some of our serious WTF moments from this first portion of the book. My goodness, where do we start? Kelsey, do you want to dive in on a favorite WTF?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. It just the whole toxic masculinity stuff. Like literally, the guys are always fighting to solve their problems.
Yeah.
And there are guys that if a girl gets lippy with them, their solution is just to grab them.
Yeah, there's a lot of grabbing.
There's a lot of grabbing.
A lot of grabbing.
Of women, girls, and there's a lot of like when Alex comes in, and the only thing that Terry can think to say to his former friend, that in the book it talks about, oh, maybe we might be friends again. I don't know. I hope maybe we can be friends again. The only thing he can think to say is, hey, is that a Tin Woodsman or are you Tinkerbell? Like,
yeah,
really, brah?
not a great look.
Dude? Brah? Dude?
Yeah, all of their problem solving, it's a flow chart, but it's just one line, and the only option is threaten.
punch.
Yes.
Do you have literally any conflict, or not even conflict? Like, do you have a confusion or emotions?
No.
Threaten.
Yep. Feelings
There's
make us
one
angry.
moment, and I like, to me, it makes it even more frustrating that everything else is like toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
There's like one moment where like, oh, Nikki and Terry have this kind of great exchange.
Yes.
where she's like, I can be friends with whoever I want, and it's not cool for you to try and like
Yes.
force me into being a part of this thing. And he's
Absolutely.
like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry I did that. And then everything just goes back to
Exactly.
Gretchen.
That happens so many times throughout the book. It's like, and whenever Nikki gets upset, they always talk about Nikki has a temper on her. Nikki has a temper on her. And whenever she legitimately has concerns that she has every right to express, and she comes back from that and they start having a conversation, she always has to be like, I'm sorry for that silly argument we had when we had that awful fight. I'm like, girl, feel what you want to feel. That's okay.
You were in the right.
Yes.
Not wanting to avoid, or like not wanting to be murdered, like is not a temper tantrum.
Exactly. Not wanting to participate in like grade school hijinks.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like when you're warned that something is going to be a dangerous situation, like they
Exactly.
explicitly say the pranks are going to be dangerous.
Dangerous?
Yeah.
And she's like, I have some concerns. They're like, you're being irrational.
Oh, and okay, so Nikki is deaf.
Oh,
But they make a big deal about that she can read lips, which
Yes.
I'm sorry. I follow Niall DeMarco on Instagram. Like, I know that lip reading is not accurate most of the time.
but there's
But
one line
they
that's
make a big deal about how she's so good at reading lips. And she sees Justine in a phone booth and reads her lips, and Justine is saying, what is it that she's saying?
Like they're all gonna
every
pay.
one of them will pay.
Every one of them will pay. And she's like, oh, hey, I just saw this weird thing. And Terry's like,
So
you're being silly.
Yeah, he says to her, you just have some sort of silly hunch or something. Like that's a line from the book. I'm like, silly female hunch. You're right. I have emotions. I'm sorry.
But it's true. But Nikki was excellent at it. They specifically say to make up for her deafness,
Right.
her eyesight was great.
Yep.
Because that's how your senses work.
Right.
Yeah, you compensate by having great eyesight.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I feel like, if anything, it does justify the, like, buck wild scenarios that she's able to somehow read lips in this book, where, like, there's blackouts and, like, strobe lights, and she's still following everything that's going
Exactly.
on.
She's
Why would we make it a nuanced portrayal of a
exactly
disability?
like she's talking to people when there's strobing going on and everything else is black, like, and following the conversation perfectly, like.
Yeah.
My gosh.
It's not a great look.
Yeah, I mean, she did fall into that gamma radiation pit, so maybe that's where she got the eyesight from.
I mean, they do
Totally
say it was
didn't
in an
happen.
accident that she lost her.
Maybe that's where she got her supervision from.
Yeah.
We just didn't realize that it was a chemical vat that she fell into.
Exactly.
They were superpowers.
Also, I did, like, have a about them calling her deafness a handicap.
I know.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
Considered a handicap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not great.
90s.
But the 90s.
You know what? This might have actually been written pre-ADA, because this was written in like 1990.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
not that that's excusing it or explaining it or making it okay.
But it does explain why they changed it in the reprint.
And it's actually a really great point of when did we read this book. So
Because there's two versions.
Yeah.
so the three of us on this end were introduced to this as adults. But Kelsey, when did you first pick up this book?
So
Delightful treat.
I had a weird upbringing. I had parents that were like, read books. Do whatever you want, just read books. So they would gladly get us books for any reason whatsoever. And like we would hang out in the bookshop. So I read this book probably right when it came out. And so that would have been 1990. So I would have been 9. Yeah, I would have been 9 when this book
Good
came out.
math there, real quick.
So-
Good job.
So yeah, and like all of the Fear Street books, I can remember getting like 3 of them at a time and tearing through them. But yeah, reading it as an adult versus when I was 9 and just looking back on it and being like, oh yeah, that's where that comes from. Oh yeah, that's why we avoid conflict. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you're 9, everything that high schoolers do seems like
amazing.
And good and
yes.
perfect.
I'm going to be just like her when I get to be 15 or whatever. Like,
Baby Kelsey,
Baby.
do better.
baby.
Yeah, and I was introduced to this, of course, as an older adult. So really, this first part of the book, all I was doing was critiquing Justine's hosting skills. I was like, really? Pizza? And then this Greek... Never mind. Fine, sure. That's part of your theme, Justine. Whatever.
And I read it for the first time in my mid-30s now. And I'm like over here being aggressively introverted about it. Like, why would I go to this party?
Exactly.
Like, these are not my friends. These are not people I hang out with. Why would I go to this party?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm totally
Hard
with
pass.
you. Totally with
Not
you.
going.
Yeah. And Andrea, so you apparently blocked this out from your childhood?
I must have like had some sort of brownout because I read like religiously all of the Goosebumps novels and then all the Fear Street novels, and I think they just all blur together as one like big problematique mess.
Gee, why? Is it because there's no character development whatsoever?
Yeah, it is. It's very like color by numbers.
Yes.
Like plug this cliche into this plot point. And I loved it as a kid because I was a creep. But like as an adult, it's questionable.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of questionable choices, we're going to get to make some of those between now and our next episode next week when we continue our discussion of Halloween Party by R.L. Stine. Thank you very much to our special guests today, Kelsey Lexow.
Thanks for having me.
Andrea Roedel-Schroeder. Sarah Wallisch, myself, Laura Holterman, and thank you to sexyhackers.com for giving us this super sweet space to talk about all this weird shit.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
sexyhackers.com Stream Team.